Welcome to the Chamber of Schenectady County's Business Advocacy Council interview with Jared Hickey, who is a candidate for the 112th State Assembly District. I'm Jack Arnicke, and I'm pleased to be your host today. The Chamber's Business Advocacy Council is bipartisan and issue-focused. Today we'll be talking about issues that affect businesses in Schenectady County and indeed all around the capital region. Jared, hello and welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
One of the big issues for business is education, not only here, but basically all over the place. Businesses have to rely on the education system to prepare young people for careers for the 21st century. Education and workforce development are high priorities for Schenectady businesses because, quite frankly, they need an educated workforce in order to be competitive locally, statewide, nationally, and globally. Number one, where does education sit in your list of priorities?
Well, education is a top priority for me, both as a candidate and as a father. I was the beneficiary of public schools when growing up, and I went to Hudson Valley Community College in SUNY Fredonia, where I earned my bachelor's degree. So I'm familiar with the need for affordable options for college for students. So I'm in favor of tuition-free New York, which would provide free tuition for students who stayed in the county or in the state, and provide higher educations for them without loans. Would not be a lot of what I see is a burden to students coming out of college. They have tremendous overhead with loans that they took out to be able to get the best education that they could. These become onerous to them. That it creates high costs, It creates stress prior to entering the workforce, and a lot of times the best jobs can be out of state. So it creates a brain drain on the resources of the state when we educate them here. So by allowing for free education through the SUNY system, and then asking those students to stay within the communities where they're educated or within the state, that'll prevent some of that brain drain. Further, after students get out of college, we need to look to equality, women's equality of pay, LGBT equality. These will prevent discrimination in the workforce and allow students or graduates to be productive members of New York State. Also, a priority of mine is looking to Common Core reform. We've had some issues with Common Core. They implemented the testing and the evaluation process prior to implementing the curriculum in schools. This is a problem.
What about the overall concept of Common Core? Just the thrust of what Common Core is trying to achieve, the concept of it.
Sure. Well, testing is important. It's certainly valuable. But excessive testing is a waste of time and resources in schools. So if we can look to reforms as far as what is appropriate in the schools, I think that would be useful.
Okay, so overall the concept of Common Core, the broad concept of Common Core is something that you favor, but implementation was screwed up basically, and some of the stuff that goes on, especially as far as testing is concerned, you'd like to see changed.
Yes. Yeah, it's a waste of the in-class time that they have, excessive testing, teaching for the specific test when we're over-testing students is a waste of the resources when we have the students in the classroom.
One of the big concerns too, particularly in the Schenectady community too, is the number of kids who don't graduate within 4 years. In the county, it's about 15%, I believe, nearly 15%. In the city of Schenectady, it's 41%. How would you, as an assembly person, try and cultivate a culture of education, a greater respect for education, basically, to encourage higher graduation rates?
Well, investing in educational infrastructure would be beneficial. The Schenectady school system is not the beneficiary of as funds per student like some of the other areas. So if we bring down class sizes and allow teachers to be more interactive by investing funds into the infrastructure of education, into into getting more teachers, into just basically allowing students to be interactive with their teachers in smaller class sizes, I think can bring down the dropout rate, the failure to graduate rate. But yeah, so.
Okay, and we're talking too, when you're talking money and you're talking more resources for Schenectady, you also have that gap elimination program. Schenectady getting like 54% of the state aid that it's entitled to. Other districts getting more. One down on Long Island, represented, I believe, by a legislative leader, getting 110%.
Sure.
How do you make that now? A lot of that money was removed during the economic recession in 2008. How do you, number one, get that back and make it equitable? You may not be able to do 100% for everyone, but how do you make it 80% or 90% for everyone?
Well, I oppose charter school expansion. I think that those funds should be reinvested back into our public school system. I believe that. I think if we are able to grow our workforce in a place like Schenectady, it'll grow our tax base, and it would allow for more funds to be reinvested in an area like Schenectady High or the Schenectady school system. It's all about, I guess, providing that base whereby people can where people can not rely so much on the safety net programs and provide for their family, allow for more interaction at home, and I believe that'll bring down the rate, and also the investment into the school systems will aid in that as well.
Okay, and I guess one of the keys to that, you've got some high-tech companies moving into Schenectady. The key would be getting those employees to actually live in the Schenectady
Certainly.
School District area. Let's talk about mandates just a bit. Governor Cuomo says that the state is very, very good at telling local governments what to do and very, very bad at providing the money for them to do it. There are some really, really big mandates, and yet we have not seen any sweeping relief to provide relief actually for counties to help pay for that stuff. What are your thoughts on that overall?
Well, I work locally. I'm a Schenectady County Deputy County Attorney. So I see what unfunded mandates, the burden that it places on the taxpayers and on local governments, on municipalities, and the difficulties that causes. Mm-hmm. My goal would be to bring relief to taxpayers who are burdened by these unfunded mandates, ensure savings and by decreasing the amount of waste, the fraud, abuse that's inherent in some of these programs, but attempt to maintain the services for the people who would be entitled to these programs, such as Medicaid or public assistance. And the hope is by increasing the efficiencies of these programs and preventing the fraud and abuse, that we'd be able to decrease the costs and thereby taking some of the burden off them. I also believe that if we invest in our communities by improving education, that this will allow for the people who are relying on those programs to get the equity of opportunity whereby they can become less reliant on those programs. These programs are necessary because of the lack of opportunity for some people, the lack of educational opportunities, the lack of job opportunities. If we can create educational opportunities at the outset to grow, to enable these people to take advantage of hopefully job opportunities that are out there by, as you said, we've brought a lot of investment into Schenectady. I believe the county's been integral in that, in bringing tech jobs into the county. And so by making communities less reliant on these safety net programs, hopefully we can bring the costs down. There's symptoms of the lack of opportunities. The reduced reliance will reduce the cost of these programs. And hopefully by improving education and equality of opportunity, we can do that.
One of the biggest burdens for any county around here is Medicaid, and you had mentioned Medicaid. New York is one of the very few, if not the only state, where Medicaid is paid for completely by a county as opposed to a state. Would you be in favor of the state taking over Medicaid, taking all of Medicaid over?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think all of Medicaid. I think that there's an equitable distribution that could be reached. I see the burden on our DSS in the county, that our Department of Social Services, the burden it places on them to provide the services to people. It's, as the recession hit, there was a reduction in our county workforce. So providing services to people in a timely manner can be difficult with a reduced workforce. I see the burden that it places on the individual workers too. Some distribution, I think, is appropriate. Not necessarily putting the full burden on the state, but to alleviate some of those issues that counties see would definitely be helpful.
Okay, and of course, when you're talking about some of these unfunded mandates, you're talking 30 to 40% of local property taxes just going to Medicaid alone. Another 30% going to the other programs, and that's before one hunk of garbage is collected or one cop gets paid. It really seems like it's, when you look at it in that perspective, it is a huge burden on taxpayers.
Certainly, yeah, it's a large burden on taxpayers. There's always issues within these programs. There's inefficiencies. There's ways to reduce costs just within the program that I think can be effective. There's also opportunities to reform some of the program as well.
So, in the Assembly, if elected, you would be in favor of some pretty dramatic reforms in the area of mandates.
Sure, I believe the services are necessary that these mandates provide, but there's always opportunity to reform these to best help the people that need these services, but also to reduce the cost of the services.
Let's get back to education just for a moment. We were talking a lot about the tech jobs that are moving into Schenectady, which usually require some specialized education and a higher level of education, college education. What about some of the trades, the plumbers, the electricians, and so on and so forth? Is there a need to incorporate more of that in the educational system for all of those who are not necessarily high tech, but who could make a very, very good living working with their hands?
Sure. You mentioned plumbers. I had a flood at my house recently, so I completely understand the need for that. At Hudson Valley Community College, there's a large trade component. My brother-in-law just went through, he's a machinist at the Waterville Arsenal, and he went through the program at Hudson Valley as an apprentice. I see the need for that very much so. It's integral, these services, to the infrastructure of our state to continue to invest in them.
And what about at the high school level? Is there a need for more exposure to those types of possibilities for students at the high school level? Sure.
Some students would certainly prefer that type of opportunity. I'm sure. If that's something that a student would prefer, I think that we should create that opportunity for them. Through Hudson Valley, you don't necessarily have to graduate high school to go to Hudson Valley. They have programs there where you can get into the service trade.
Okay, we have just a minute left, and let me ask you in closing, as a member of the business community in Schenectady, why should I vote for you?
Well, I believe I'll bring a fresh perspective to Albany. I'm a young parent. I face the issues and the concerns that other people in my position face. I have a family. I want to provide for that family. It's unclear what the future for my family may be. And I want to work towards making sure that my son can get an education, that he won't be concerned coming out of college with the high loans that I see personally, that I'm paying, that he can provide a better future for his family than the one hopefully I provide a good future for him, but maybe better than the one I provide for him. These are the concerns that drive me. I have experience in local government as a deputy county attorney for the county of Schenectady. I've saved taxpayers in Schenectady $7 million when we brought the Glendale home in under budget on its new construction. I've worked to make Schenectady County the greenest county in New York State, creating the largest municipal solar panel facility, saving millions of dollars. And I've negotiated contract terms with union leaders where through innovative healthcare savings, we've been able to save more than $10 million per year.
Okay, I guess that wraps it up pretty well. Thank you very much, Jared Hickey, for taking the time to join me today and to share your thoughts and issues and ideas on issues facing us in Schenectady and in the Capital Region. To see interviews with candidates for the New York State 46th and 49th Senate Districts, 110th, 111th, and 112th State Assembly Districts, and New York's 20th Congressional District, please visit www.schenectadychamber.org. And remember to vote on Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th.